If you haven't followed the podcast yet and don't know who I am Chris Wright, the head of PUBS Advisory Service here in the UK. I provide insights into the UK pubs trade, speak with other experts, share experiences and stories from publicans across the country. Along the way, exploring different pubs, how they are run, and speaking with the operators. Podcasts are released weekly, and we are always interested in what our audience has to say about pubs as well. Take note, you can take part as well. So how do you contribute to the Our Pubs Speak Out podcast? You can WhatsApp us on 07766 07 3815. Leave your story in the form of a voice message or voice note. 5 mins is approximately the maximum time length. If you're cut off or have a longer story, message back and continue where you left off. Please include as much detail about your experience as possible and avoid recording in noisy places or a moving vehicle. I recommend subscribing to the PUBS Advisory Service. It's the most extensive pub service offering more than just representation. We have online calculators, document banks and other resources for those interested in running a pub business. You can claim all of the costs of subscribing back as a business expense. Some of the WhatsApp content will make it into special episodes of my podcast, exclusive only to subscribers of PUBS Advisory Service. A paid-for subscription gives you early access to episodes, plus online Q&As where I answer listeners' questions about the industry. Hello once again, this is Chris from the Our Pubs podcast, and today I'm joined by award-winning publicans Tommy and Mike, 3 Horseshoes in Witney, who I can see sitting in front of me with their award. You won last week the Licensee of the Year at the BII Summer event in London. Guys, have you come down yet from your win?
No, no. I think it's going to take a prolonged period. Definitely, I've probably drank far too much over the past week. Yeah, so I'll be honest.
It was all obviously, it was the biggest whirlwind ever, and huge whirlwind. It's surreal, and we didn't really have a chance to sit back and sort of dwell on it. Really, we had to leave on the Tuesday night, which is a real pain. But Wednesday morning, I was cleaning the pub, and Tommy had to take his cats to the vets. So, it was really nice on the Thursday or the Friday. We had a nice opportunity with us and our partners to sit down and have a drink and just let that sink in a little bit. But no, not really. It's still very, very fresh in the mind and surreal.
I was going to say, equally as fresh as your win is your actual involvement in this trade. I mean, you've told me that you got this pub in February 2023. So, very, very short time ago. And you opened a few weeks later, and then obviously you almost back to back. You're putting yourself forward, doing up this pub, and then becoming licensees of the year. I mean, that is such a quick journey, guys, to get into this. I mean, I take my hats off to you. I've never visited the pub that you run, but I'm definitely looking forward to coming up and seeing you, because it just looks fabulous from the outside, and all those video clips on the BII's award show, I don't think could do justice to it. It's definitely one to go and eyeball. And I'm amazed by your enthusiasm and energy that came across in that award show. And if anyone hasn't seen it, possibly get in touch with the BII and see if they can. They may have that up online. I'm not sure. Is it online, gents?
The live stream from the event, which is the first time they did it, is still available to view. Just click on their page and you'll be able to find the link and have a look at us accepting this really wicked award.
Yeah, no, the live stream was great because it was just one of those years I couldn't attend, and I was a bit gutted because I do find some shows quite dry, but I do like the BI summer event, albeit, as we discussed earlier before we recorded, it's very sweaty in London at times, so not the most pleasant of environments, but that just looked great, and I think it came across really well. And I want to give thanks to Steve Alton, who I've met and chatted with a few times, for putting that together, because it just looked great, and I was really able to enjoy that and actually pick up some of that thrill.
It was incredible. Everything about it was incredible.
Oh, absolutely.
I think the way the teams from the BII looked after us, the team at Sky on the day before looked after us. I mean, kudos and take your hats off. I mean, we felt like royalty. Generally, they couldn't do enough for us. Mike made a joke about our next venture called Beers and Blisters, because we both had absolutely ripped our feet apart during the day, and they ran off and got us plasters and socks. And honestly, I mean, I'd never experienced something like that.
No, I think because the Monday was clearly going to be a very nerve-wracking, stressful day for all the finalists. For them to go to every level possible of putting everyone's minds at ease. When I say all the finalists, I mean they did that and some. Yeah, clearly it was still slightly nerve-wracking going into the judging panels, but for the team at, as Tommy said, the BII and Sky, they went above and beyond. I mean, that was incredible. So because that was such a big experience, it wasn't just about the awards lunch on the Tuesday. To be part of that on Monday,
Yeah.
they did make you feel like royalty, and they made you feel very important. And that was one of at that stage where we had literally zero expectation of even winning this award. So just to be part of that was really, really huge. And then it made us think, wow, we were nominated for this back in January, and then to go through this process was unbelievable. So to get to that day at Sky, having been treated like that by those guys, was something we'll never forget. We're really grateful.
Really grateful. And we were surrounded by the other 5 finalists who were just such lovely people. It was lovely to get to know all them, and I think lifelong friendships will be made from that. But the way they run their pubs, and I kind of think that myself and Mike took a lot from it, and speaking to other people in the industry that have really successful businesses, really clever business models. That's what you took out of the day, really. I mean, even more so, the winning was unbelievable and incredible. Even in my career, I don't think anything's really going to ever top that for me. But actually getting to meet these unbelievable people and being looked after like we were has made the day even more special.
I think Steve said something in the morning when he briefed everybody in a conference room. He said last year's winner Justine was there, and he said there's been so many firm, long-lasting friendships garnered from last year, from the finalists and the members of the BII. And when you were sat there in a big conference room, we didn't know anybody. You were thinking, well, how's that going to happen? But trust me, that was at about 10 o'clock in the morning. By 4:30 on the Monday afternoon, you could see exactly why you're going to be friends with these people going forwards, because everybody connected really easily. Now, there's no guarantee that's going to happen when you get put in a room with a bunch of people you don't know. The only connection was that we were all finalists, but everybody got on really, really well, and there were some seriously nice people from all different parts of the country
and all walks of life as well.
Yeah. Have you been to any of the other finalist pubs by accident or by design?
No, we haven't.
Everyone was sort of so strewn apart. Like a couple were from South Shields near Newcastle, and then Winchester and Bournemouth. And if you didn't know about their places, like we learnt about them over the progress of the BII award, you probably wouldn't stumble across them. But now we do know about them. I know where they are, and we probably will eventually go and visit people and sort of pop our heads in and have a pint with them, because I think it's a good thing to do.
And we've already chatted on this. There's a finalist WhatsApp, and we've already said about meeting at each other's pubs at some point. We'd love to do that, and we can't wait to welcome people here as well.
Absolutely. So is now the busy time of the year for you guys? I mean, the pub that you run and its location are you hitting peak trade, or is it not quite like that for you?
No, we are very busy. I mean, it's generally busy most of the year. We are really fortunate with that. But I mean, May through October, we're blessed to have a very, very lovely garden, sort of patio garden with a lovely stretch tent, and we do a huge number of outdoor events, ones that we've organised or private bookings. We do lots of post and pre-wedding events, 50th, 60th birthdays, 30th birthdays,
christenings, weddings. We do everything we can, and people like the space. I mean, one of our sort of USPs, we don't charge any hire fees for the space.
Okay.
So we know how expensive places can cost, especially for weddings when you're trying to find a venue, and we don't charge anything. We accept, and the reason being, if 100 people walked into the pub now, I wouldn't ask them for a deposit. I just let them in the garden, right?
Yeah.
So I never thought there's no difference in that. You can book for 100 or walk in 100. The walk in of 100 don't pay a deposit. But if you book, you have to pay. So I never thought that was quite right. So,
and some people say that's a risk, but in the 2 years we've never been let down by a booking in that regard. What it does is it takes a huge amount of pressure off of them that they haven't got to pay any kind of hire fee.
Sure.
Which is really nice. And we work with a few local wedding venues, and the word was kind of spreading. A lot of these wedding venues people are coming from all around the country to use this place. So they're generally going to be coming for a weekend. They're not just there for the day and then they're out. So we started to get a huge amount of calls last year, people wanting to come for a post-wedding event, a pre-wedding event. And that can range from a dinner for 8 people through to events for 100, 120, 130 people. So if they are finding out that they haven't got to pay a higher fee for the garden, and they can come and spend a lot of time either pre or post with their family and friends, and all they're paying for is their food and drink, then
It's a no-brainer, isn't it?
it's a
for the
lot of
win.
pressure, and it's almost it's a big part of their wedding weekend without having a £1,000-2,000 added on as a fee.
That's very interesting, Jen. So actually the outdoor spaces of pubs and the way they're being used now, and the way that operators around the country are exploiting these spaces has been really interesting post-pandemic. It's been one of the kind of interesting success stories, and I've met a number of publicans who have clearly exploited those outdoors. In fact, if you go back and listen to our previous podcast, number 4, that one that's exactly what they've done. They've exploited their outdoor areas, got a petting zoo, got their undercover. They can serve ridiculous, like 200 people outside. You know, they've got an outdoor ice cream hut. I've got all these little add-ons, and you know, it's definitely a trend. I speak to my son Charlie about this, and he does a lot of valuation, visits pubs a lot, and he sees a lot of the outdoor spaces being utilised. And of course, there are some interesting battles there with planners, local authority, licensing about what you can do in these spaces. But I think it's here to stay as a trend. I may even do an outdoor pub special on the podcast and gather in some more of these stories. But let me wind it back just a little bit here. Why this pub in Witney? Why not some other town? You know, why not Birmingham? What are you doing in Witney? How did you come to be here?
Well, we obviously live in Witney. We've been here many years. We love the town. We love the town. We've worked here. We live here. We raised our kids here. We adore the pubs in this town. There are some incredible pubs and restaurants in Witney, which we love drinking in. A lot of our really dear friends
are also publicans.
One of them where Tommy used to work, and it was me and my wife local, and we raised our kids in there, which doesn't sound great. We're spending all our time in the pub.
Sounds perfect.
But what that gave my children were used to being in an adult environment, and they felt comfortable around other people. So that was a big thing for us growing up. And obviously I was always in there to see Tommy anyway. So we care deeply about the town. We've both been involved heavily with music in the town and charitable events. So I play a lot of sport in the town, so I think we feel quite ingrained in what the town's about and its major community aspect. So one of the big things for us taking on the pub was about the community aspect that we wanted to really bring back to it.
So when you guys first met and this spark comes into your head, we want to run a pub. I think you said this was 10 years ago, yeah?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean, me and Mike have known each other for close to 25 years. You know, we've always been friends, and we just always we always said to each other, one day we'll end up doing something together. We'll have a business together. Something's going to happen. We knew it was in the cards. It was just waiting for that prime opportunity. We looked at taking on a venue for a live music venue and making it into sort of American style bar and grill. And sadly that didn't come about. And we kind of sat down one day and we kind of went, why aren't we looking at pubs for this? Why aren't we looking at leased pubs? Because the space is already there. You've got support with you, so why not look at that? And that's when we looked at the Three Horseshoes.
Right, and they just happened to come up for rent or to be let that year, was it, or had it been on for a little while? What did you see?
Like Tommy had mentioned, it had been in the same family for many years. They had 2 pubs within about 250 yards of each other, both very successful pubs, really great atmospheres, and the owners then retired and they sold it to their son and his business partner, and then they carried on running it. And they as Tommy mentioned earlier, they decided to move on to pastures new for new challenges. And then it was suddenly, that was it. The Three Horseshoes was on the market, which had been not available for a long time. Because
I think it was like 30 years it's not been available. Yeah. So when it came on the market, it was like a gem, and the amount of interest was palpable.
Yeah.
I imagine.
With us having no business experience running a business together, Mike had the business head, I had the pub game, and Mike's wife was an accountant. So we had like the solid structure, but
she told us what we couldn't spend.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a lid on your aspirations.
Yeah, exactly that.
So you've just got the one site. You obviously, like you said,
we've got 2 sites now.
You have got 2.
Yeah.
Oh, you've taken the wind out of my sails. I was going to say you're going to move on to 2. You beat me to it. So
Sorry,
that's,
No,
how
we
many
opened our
years?
second
How
site.
many years was that in planning? Was that 10 years as well, or was it just
about 2 months.
Yeah, yeah.
about 2 months?
No, we must admit we did have a plan for this, and the plan was to add to the portfolio, but that could have taken a month. It could have taken 15 years. There was no rush to do it.
Yeah.
We looked at a number of sites in Suffolk actually a year or so ago, which is where I'm from. I'm from Ipswich, and it wasn't because I'm from Ipswich, but we just happened to see a couple of sites around there that are owned by the same company that own this building, Admiral Taverns.
Yeah.
And we looked at those, and they were great, and they may still be something in the future, but it just wasn't the right time. But then another pub got put our way by Admiral Taverns in a beautiful little village called Whitchurch in Buckinghamshire, and we immediately thought,
We just fell in love, didn't we?
Yeah, we felt we could roll out our brand here that we have here. Our brand's quite quirky, it's quite different, and we wanted to roll it out over there. So yeah, we took that place on in November last year, so it's still very recent.
Oh, I don't know that part of the world particularly well, but is it as many chimney pots as Witney, or is it a slightly smaller type of?
No, it's about 900
people, but it is it's steeped in a bunch of history, because opposite the building is a place called the Firs, which used to be known as Churchill's toy shop, so where they developed weapons for World War II.
Okay, yeah.
And the key story of that is the gentleman who invented the trigger for the atomic bomb. It was invented there.
Blimey. So you've got a local port. I think it's really interesting. There's a lot of small towns and villages strung out across England and Wales where there's so much wonderful local history and it's hidden and discovered. And one of the great positives of the internet is people can research and travel far and wide now to look at these things. I spoke with a gentleman the other day who's he ran a venue that was opposite a lay-by where a famous murder took place. And occasionally he would see people standing looking at nothing and wander in and go, "Could you tell us where the murder's happened?" He went, "Yeah, that lay-by."
So yeah, I think we were just really fascinated with the history of that village. It's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful pub, and there's some really. We've obviously got to know the locals are lovely over there, and and we still want to keep building the portfolio, but we got to keep growing what we're doing, and we'll do it when the time's right.
Great. Well, I love the ambition of that, gents. I mean, given that you've been in the trade a relatively short space of time, I mean, what to your mind has been the worst thing so far, apart from government? We'll save that for a minute. Apart from government, has there been anything you thought, that's just thrown us sideways, we didn't expect it? Is there anything that's knocked you yet, or you're all plain sailing?
I think, for me, every day is a different challenge, isn't it? I don't think you can put into a sort of cornhole of certain things and that knock you back. I think things are always going to crop up, be it from a staffing incident or a supplier issue or something that's all weather or things like that. There's always going to be something that will knock you on, and it has to keep you on your toes. And I think this is why I'm so in love with the industry, because no day's the same. It's 24/7 job. You're always on your toes. We always have a joke with our staff. If you want to get hold of us, Mark will be up at 4 a.m. He'll be in bed by 8. I'll be in bed at midnight, but Mark will be up again at 4. So there's a 4-hour gap every day. You can't get hold of us.
We do absolutely adore what we do, but we generally, so far so good, touch wood, we take every single day as a new day, a real challenge, and we take on what we're doing with positivity. Because of course there are things that will be sent to test us, whether it be behind the scenes commercially, or whether it be, like Tommy said, a supplier issue or something, or an event causes these issues. We had a really, really big event last September where we were hosting a wedding vows renewal, and it was in September. The weather had been stunning, and on that day it was like the world was ending. It was apocalyptic rain all day, and we were planned for 120 people in the garden, and it was clear it wasn't going to stop raining for 24 hours, and we had to pull the event inside in the same day. And the guests were panicking, but we did it. We did it. We pulled off, and do you know what? It turned out to be one of the best days ever for the guys who were having their wedding vows renewal. So I mean, that's just one of many examples. That popped into my head, but we will deal with it and be positive, because the resolution's only positive if you attack it that way. If you get stressed and upset and be doom and gloom about it, it's probably going to be a bit of a disaster.
And it rubs off on people. It rubs off on the customers, rub off on your staff, rub off on your family. And you have to remain positive. We know we're going through a tricky period in the industry. We know things need to be helped with. We know that.
Yeah.
But why we continue is because we believe in it.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I mean, you've obviously had this great success here, Licensees of the Year. Go back to that one. I still see the award shining away in front of me. But other than actually winning the award, I'm getting a feeling here you're very much putting down your success to you being adaptable and being able to confront these challenges and just deal with them, chunk them out, and just blow them away. Nothing's too big for you guys. I'm getting a strong feeling of that, and that's such a great attitude. I mean, all credit to you that you still riding high, still got that energy, which is required, especially when you're running these sorts of venues and putting teams together. Do you have rooms, by the way? I didn't ask. Do you?
No, unfortunately not. No, it's not that kind of site. No,
not that kind of. Not in the new site either. That's not
a
thing you want to do. Yeah, that comes with its.
You never know. You never know. But it's not even possible on either side. They've got staff accommodation, and that's it.
Yeah, in fact, the whole room side of the business involves a whole different level of kind of logic and arranging and having people around and laundry and everything else. It's definitely people that can do it. That again, it's another tool, isn't it? That you have to hone. So you've attained this really high standard nationally. You've been recognised in quite a short space of time, and there's no harm in that. So the key to that, do you think it was hiring the right staff? Was it just having worked in your own minds this venue that you were going to put your brand into and do what you wanted to do? Do you have a really good back office? You mentioned, your wife having done the accounts and stuff like that. What do you think that has been driving your standards as well, apart from your energy up front?
I think it's a combination of everything. Yeah, we have got energy. We probably got far too much energy, but we from day one, when we were interviewed for this place, one of the key things we said in our interviews when we didn't know if we were going to even get past first interview stage was this would become a hub for the community, and we wanted the customer experience to be the best it possibly could be for everyone, whether they were coming in for a cup of coffee, a couple of pints of Madri, or spending £800 on dinner. We wanted them to leave feeling
same experience.
Yeah, exactly the same experience, and happy and content and safe. And be value for money and affordable. Now, from that, we really, really like to look after our staff. We want them to enjoy what they're doing, be happy and content in their roles, and then that goes. We said about this in the judging last week. It goes full circle, because if our customers can see our staff are happy and content in what they're doing and enjoy their jobs, even when it's very, very busy and can get stressful as it can in this industry, that flips onto the customer experience. So I think they've all kind of naturally morphed. Our energy does, without a shadow of a doubt, rub off on everybody else, our staff. We'd like to think it rubs off on our customers because we chat to our customers every single day. So I think it's an ever increasing circle. And yeah, on our back of house, it is quite tight. It's grown and grown over the last 2 years. We've learned from our mistakes. We've made mistakes. And we're really learning on that. We are blessed to have my wife, who is an accountant, looking after those areas well. But we've got to have a very, very strong knowledge of everything financially as well. So we work really, really tightly as a team, with Tommy's partner Hannah as well. So yeah, I think they're some of the main areas.
Yeah, and I think with, like you said, it's a combination thing, isn't it? The team itself here, I hope, are enthused by mine and Mike's energy and the way we come across, and it does rub off on them. We like to think it rubs off on them, but I think it's a combination of things. I don't think it's never just me and Mike. We might well have our names above the door, we might well have our names on the trophy, but ultimately it's the team, it's the customers. Without the team, you don't have the customers. Without the customers, you don't have the pub. Everything rolls into one, and it all fits together like a little circle.
Are you a publican navigating the choppy waters in the UK pub industry, or perhaps you're looking to get into the trade for the first time? The PUBS Advisory Service is here to help. We provide essential advice and support, from licensing and legal queries to tenancy agreements and business growth strategies. Want to unlock exclusive insights, in-depth guides, and all our past podcast episodes, including hidden extras? Subscribe to PASS today. Membership gives you unparalleled access to expert advice, ensuring your pub thrives. Visit pubs.expert to learn more and subscribe. Don't miss out. Empower your pub business with Pubs Advisory Service.
Across for me, and I've only really been aware of your operation and what you've been doing since the award last week. So you have this show, that you do here in your pub 7 days a week. You're putting out this great performance. You get nominated. You go down to London. There's this great performance again. Tommy, you get up on stage and you want to say something. It was like I could almost feel it coming through the internet to me, and I was thinking, what is this guy going to say? Because he isn't going to say something I'm used to hearing, I thought, from a platform. So if anyone's curious, go and watch the BII highlights package on that. But Tommy, you spoke about using this platform, using this opportunity this year, being licensees. You want to, as I sort of paraphrase it, speak truth to power. You want to send a message up to Westminster, whoever. Could you just talk me through that? What's going through your mind, and who is it you want to speak to?
Do you know when you get into a situation like generally from the bottom of my heart, I said to Mike, we ain't never going to win this award. We look behind us, and we're very confident people in ourselves. But when we look behind us and saw the caliber of people we're up against, who've been running pubs for 20 years, turning over £5 million, seating 500 people, we were like, these guys are top tier operators.
Next level, yeah.
Top tier operators. And we were just, and some of the guys had a bit of backing. They might have not been business owners, but they were licensees, they were general managers or managers of the pub and been in for a long time. And the sheer genuine excitement on my face and shock when I watched the video back about 4,000 times because I just still can't get over it. But there's a moment where I turn around to Mike and I sort of grab him by the head. It looks like I'm probably going to kiss him. And maybe that's why people get that opinion that we're gay. And I just said to Mike, I said, do you know what? I'm so very proud of you. And then it just kind of hit me. And as we walked onto that stage, and I said to Mike, I can't really say anything at the moment. And I think you're probably right, Chris. I think my mind was just starting to process the situation. And I kind of sort of looked up and lifted my head and thought, I've got an opportunity here that I'll probably never get again. To say something that I truly believe in, and evidently it had a few sherbets beforehand. I mean, it was all free.
You don't say.
Yeah. But when I was nervous, confident, and then it just kind of developed into this crazy speech with expletives. But it wasn't aimed like that. It was because of my nerves.
I think one thing that was really interesting is we had zero expectation of winning, like Tommy just said. So clearly there had been no speech written by us, as you probably gathered from how it came out.
Shot from the hip.
My language is genuinely horrendous on a day-to-day basis. And then when I realised I had to play the good cop, so I said a bit more heartfelt stuff and this, that, the other. But I think we bounce off each other with everything we do, generally in life anyway. So I think the organic nature of it, that really worked. And it really was. I've looked back at it, watched it back, and what I loved about what Tommy said is yes, there are a couple of expletives, but they weren't for the sake of it. Now, when Tommy was speaking, I wanted to take the opportunity to stand back and just look at that audience. I didn't realise quite how big it was. 1,000 people, it's a number when you look back and see that many people in there. But their reaction, their faces when Tommy did make the statement about how we need help and how the industry is not being helped by the government. And so it wasn't swearing for the sake of it. It was almost a call to arms and a rally. And to see that reaction from the crowd said that, yeah, do you know what? People are cross, people are angry. So I say kudos to him. You don't go into anything planning to swear, but emotion had got the better of us. Alcohol had been involved because it was that kind of day. It's a BII summer event, for God's sake. There was, but yeah, it was very natural, and it was I think the initial message got put across from us when it wasn't even planned because we had no idea what we were going to say.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I in my career in this industry have spoken to power. I've been up to Westminster ministers and MPs and the like. If I could wave my magic wand for you, Tommy, Mike, who would you want to speak to? And what would you want to say straight away? If I could do that, if I could open a door for you.
All the powers that be that can affect change. I don't know who they would be off the top of my head at the minute, but the people that can affect change. We're new to this, but I'm getting really, really sick and tired of how the industry is being treated, and other industries are being treated badly by the government.
But you're in this one.
But this is our industry. This is our bread and butter. We're an independent business, yes, albeit we're owned by Admiral Taverns, but it's our business. We're responsible for our staff, our families, and our customers as well. We're responsible for all of that. So every single day we are looking at our bottom line, where we can save money, because costs are going up here, there, everywhere. National insurance, our business rates went up by about $8,000 this year. It's an absolute killer to a business. Tommy's partner Hannah and my wife Amanda, well, everyone really, but Hannah and Amanda worked so hard for months and months and months on bringing down staff costs because they were too high. And we got to a stage where, do you know what, we were so proud of the percentage we got it down to. Then we get a letter to say our business rates have gone up by that much. And I mean, you couldn't take a bigger kick in the teeth if you tried, to a small business.
And now we've got to find an extra £8,000 a year. You've got to find that extra national insurance increase. You've got to find that those minimum wage going up. And I'm all for paying people. We've always paid above the minimum wage anyway, so we didn't make a massive cost to us. But for other businesses in our sector, where that's all they pay is minimum wage, which is what they have to do to maintain a business and maintain profitable, it's huge. One of the finalists said his national insurance bill had increased by £60,000.
Yeah.
Where you can't just magic that.
No. It's not like there was a big headroom on top either for them to just dig into. Yeah.
You know, Chris, the margins in this industry are very, very small.
Unfortunately, they are. Yeah. I mean, you mentioned the business rates issue. I mean, I have helped a number of people, with challenges against the Valuation Office Agency. And it's been something I've been looking at really deeply since about 2019. Before that, I was very much absorbed with the PUBS code. And the VOA, from my point of view, is a rogue agency. It's just undeniably doing a crazy job of valuation, which makes no sense. And they seem to be going out of their way to punish operators who are investors. You have invested in this site. You have made things happen. You've added all this sparkle, like your trousers there, Tom. the sparkle, the really nice things. You're doing all the really nice things, the right things, and you're above average, clearly above average. And the Valuation Office Agency seems to just say, yeah, but anyone could do that. And they just take that as, let's muck around with your business rates. It's definitely a very hot subject, and it's one that I'm going to be probably doing more than 1 or 2 podcasts on the VOA as I sort of take down their nonsense. And it is nonsense.
It is. It absolutely is. And Tommy mentioned last week in part of his speech about the Great British Pub. And it's an institution of this country, isn't it? It's within our very fabric.
Yeah.
And you tell me these suits, they don't like to go to a restaurant, or they don't like to go to pubs. Tell me they don't do that. An absolute load of nonsense. But they're the very people who are trying to pull this industry down. So 25% of pubs have gone. How many more are going to keep going before they make a difference? Before they start to make changes for the better. And I feel like they don't have a grip on reality and what's happening on the ground, yet they will like to go off to a very nice pub or a restaurant with their families, or
and drop 400 quid on a dinner.
Yeah.
There's a larger slice of hypocrisy with that, isn't there?
Massive.
And I think the knock-on effect, Chris, as well. One pub, what we're seeing is where one pub would normally close and some, because it failed or they didn't do a great job and someone would jump in, people are now, no, I'm not going into there. And what the bigger fact is, so, it doesn't just have, when a pub closes, it doesn't just knock an effect from the staff. You've got other people, you've got brewers, cleaners, people who buy cleaning products from, people who do your washing for you, people who buy, it's everyone, it's a chain. There's millions of people who work in this sector. It's not just people who work behind a bar. It's the people who work at the back of house, the kitchen chef, the KP, the cleaner in the morning. It affects everyone. And every time a pub closes, a portion of these people lose their jobs. And it affects everyone down that trodden line again.
Well, I've often found in my analysis of community-based pubs, like you're running there, you're doing a very independent thing. You're often working with predominantly way more suppliers than a chain would. You're buying from a wider base, maybe 30, 40 different suppliers. you're connecting to your community in lots of different ways. You mentioned some of the events that you've worked with and charities that you've been supporting, and that again, large corporates not really doing it, not to the same variety, not to the same width. I always find the independent pubs have got a much wider footprint, and that sort of ecosystem that you're describing there, Tommy, about how the money, spreads out amongst lots of different pockets and lots of different hands. And I don't think that is recognised. You're absolutely
No,
right.
I don't think it is.
I think
That's quite an important point, Chris. It's like just us as one small independent pub. We've donated circa 50 grand. Sorry, raised circa 50 grand in 2 years for charities. So if we're suddenly not here tomorrow because we're being absolutely squeezed and screwed on costs by the government, well, that 50 grand to charity, that would never have happened, or it wouldn't. The future events we've got planned for charity, they won't be happening.
And it's a bigger picture, isn't it?
So many pubs around the country do phenomenal work for charities. So this is the bit that really winds me up, because they're going above and beyond. They don't have to do charity events. We don't have to do charity events. We choose to because we want to. We want to try and make a difference for people who are less fortunate. But the flip side is we're being screwed left, right and centre by the government, as all pubs and restaurants in the industry are. So, yeah, it doesn't sit massively comfortable with me, but they'll probably sit there in interviews and talk about how much they care about charity or doing good. But I know this might be a bit controversial, but I don't believe they do any good at all.
Yeah, I think also some of the large corporate varieties of charitable giving seems to come at the expense of paying tax.
Of course it does.
So they'll roast their coffee beans in another country, not pay the same rate of duty on that, and then say, oh, well, but we've given something to charity. That doesn't sit very well. It kind of does burn. You have a very genuine, positioning about what you do. And I think that's why your community and the people that support you and also the judges at the licensee of the year see that.
Or they want to be seen on camera giving to charity.
Yes, yeah, making it very visual and part. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, oh, look, it's me.
Yeah, I worked. A number of years ago, I founded a music festival for a young girl who was tragically lost her life, and one of the charities we raised money for, a local MP, had some kind of link with them, a fairly tenuous link, and. Clearly, I'm not going to name any names, but this was in our local town, and he appeared on the day of the check giving with some absolutely phenomenal volunteers from this charity who give blood, sweat, and tears for the check giving, and he removed them out of the way. He then proceeded to stand with the parents of the young girl who lost her life and wanted to do the check presentation, and then proceeded to talk about his own agendas as a local MP.
I think I know who that could be.
Yeah, I imagine you probably do. And that really, really angered me, because I actually superseded and I said, I'm sorry, these volunteers have given blood, sweat and tears. They're the real heroes here. And the parents don't need to be involved in some kind of political agenda. They're here because they've lost their daughter. And we'd raised £30,000 to this charity. So that, to me, that was many, many years before we started talking about an award or a pub or charity. That's kind of how I feel about politicians' agendas. Maybe just actually start doing some good and start being genuine, and then people in this country might actually look up and say, wow, these guys are affecting change. They're not just here to run their own agenda and be yes people.
Well, I mean, this ties in quite nicely to something you said to the Oxford Mail. You said British pubs are at stake, and I think you've described, what is at stake. It is these networks, it is these connections and the communities that you work in, and absolutely, people do need to be listening. I mean, I take the view that, having sort of dealt with politicians in the past, I've found good and bad in all the parties. Good Tories, bad Tories, good Labour, bad Labour. Pubs to me are a cross-party issue. And that is very much how you have to work in this industry. You can't colour a political allegiance. You have to work cross-party if you want to affect some real change. And I'd be delighted to put you in touch with some of the campaigners that have been around for quite a while. If you don't know them, there's I'll name check the Campaign for Pubs. That's headed up by Paul Crossman. He is an operator, multi-site operator in York, City of York. He's been involved for a long time. Know me well, almost 20 years. And one of the other people that I knew really well, Mark Dodds, who I interviewed was one of my first podcasts. And Mark was an operator of an award-winning South London pub, did a lot for the community, as you guys have. And Mark is now one of the directors of CAMRA, Real Ale organisation. So I'll gladly put you in touch with those guys, because I think, you should have a conversation with some of the guys that are campaigning today. For my sins, I don't campaign quite as much. I'm much more of a consultant and a supplier and a helper. But the podcasting thing's been interesting to me, because over the years, I've done thousands of conversations and I've heard so many of these angles, and I was literally reaching for Google to find you guys as soon as I heard you speak the other day, Tom, because I thought, what's coming across here is you're operators and you've got a voice and you want to use it, and I'm like, I'm all for that. I think it's so important in this trade that actual real operators are the people delivering the messages, not that there's a corporate PR in between or somebody else maybe spinning that story, that you speak truth to power because you are actually at the coalface. You're dealing with the day to day. And if you can, terrific energy you've got, if you can spare a bit more energy, maybe on the odd occasion to get up to Westminster and speak directly to people, because there are all these committees and other hearings that go on. I thoroughly encourage you to do it, because you've been brave enough.
Chris, I don't think a lot of people that maybe not in the industry know how prestigious this award is for us. And we hope what it's given us is a catalyst to be able to see these people and actually give them an independent point of view, And as we're award-winning licensees now. It's still crazy to say that, but if it can give us that little step up and a little bit of momentum, especially while the iron's hot now, where we can push this forward to people and actually make a real change, not just for me and Mike, but pub operators around the country, and specifically local to Witney. Yeah. If we can show change and have a little bit of impact in that and be able to give that voice, then I think that's an everlasting legacy for both of us.
Yeah, it absolutely will be. And we're desperate to have the opportunity. I guess we've got a degree of a voice now for the next 12 months. But we are speaking on behalf of all the other pubs and restaurants in Witney and all across the country. But if we can affect that bit of change, but we're desperate to get in front of the right people, because I'm sick and tired, sick to the back teeth of hearing the non-answers to everything, whatever it might be about in this world, from politicians. I really, really am. It's one of my biggest bugbears in life, as it is probably for most people. But actually, if we can do something about this, and it will be huge. We'll give every ounce of energy we've got whilst we've got this honour, and whilst we might have a slight degree more of a voice than other operators, because we've been put in this position by the BII. We will do everything we can, and I know Tommy's the same. I'm not afraid to come forward and say the things that need to be said that might not be particularly PC, because we actually need answers now, rather than yes, everybody works hard, everybody's finding it tough, everyone's finding the pinch, but you keep taking away from people.
Well, indeed,
it has to be resolution.
Absolutely, and I think one of the things you'll discover, or at least I understood, was that a lot of the organisations, in public life, the government agencies, the ministers, and various advisors and in Westminster, is that they're always putting out feelers, and they always say they're in listening mode, but that isn't actually what's required. What's required is action. Boots on the ground is kind of what's required. I don't want to keep saying, and I guess you guys don't want to keep saying the same story. What you want to see is some actual movement on these issues, and that really is the challenging bit of it. It's creating the energy and momentum to push that forward, because undoubtedly there's a great sort of barrier there of, well, we listen to you, but
it's us and them, isn't it? It's us and them, the general public with them, and it's a crock. They're never in listening mode. They've already made their decisions long before they come in front of a camera and say, well, we're here to help, we're here to provide. You're not. You've already made your decisions. I don't think they listen to anything. So,
but we will do our best. This next 12 months is going to be big for us. We're going to work really closely with the BII and Steve and all the guys there, and hopefully, everyone may say it, but hopefully, we can be heard and we can be stood for, and we can be the voice now for the industry.
Yeah, we're definitely not here just to promote push our business. We'll be looking to grow our business every single day, regardless of this award. Hopefully, it will help that organically, but we will do everything we can.
Absolutely, and just to put your minds at rest about the sweariness and I remember vividly being in Parliament and someone said to me, Mr. Mark Dodds, he swears quite a bit, it doesn't do him any favours, and I said, he's lost his wife, he's lost his business, he's lost his dignity, he's been involved in a 20-year trade dispute with his landlord. I said, I think you can cut him a bit of slack.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
And I said, and if you find the odd bit of language a bit rough, maybe you're in the wrong industry. You should be in politics.
But you got out also. Sorry to butt in, Chris, but why is he swearing? Because he's obviously been through hell and back, but he's passionate and he cares that he's been massively let down by the people that we put our trust in, regardless of whatever someone's political allegiance is. Like you said, you've got to be cross-party when you're running a pub. Regardless of your allegiance, we put our trust in these people, and I don't blame someone for dropping a few F-bombs, whether it be Tommy last week or whether it be this gentleman when he's in the Houses of Parliament. They're having their livelihoods taken away, and they've also dealing with all the other kind of crap that's put in their way in life. So,
well, we had the choppy waters of Brexit, and then we had the even choppier waters of the pandemic, and no pub champion emerged. Here we are in this window now, and I'm thinking about people like yourselves today, perhaps people wanting to do reform and help this trade. And I'm struggling to think of a pubs champion, and I think this is a real challenge to the Labour Party. And maybe you guys could write an open letter to Keir Starmer or whoever, Jonathan Reynolds, in charge of business, and say, can you give us a pubs champion? Can you give us an MP or a minister who actually is going to be the champion for this trade?
The thing is, these guys won't come and talk to us, would they? They won't talk to people like us.
You've got to write letters.
No, they'll write letters and they won't even be looked at. You'll get a generic response from a PA or something. These guys haven't got what it takes to come and speak to people like us on the ground, because we might ask questions that they can't give answers to.
Oh, it can be a lot of letter writing and very few responses. But I always think there's an attrition there. Sometimes you need your constituents to write as well. Get your back, then their mailbags are full, and they think, okay, we better do something. And I think one of the first people I met as I got into the trade many years ago, a guy called Carl, he said to me, Chris, government rarely do the right things for the right reasons. They'll do the right thing for the wrong reason. And that always stuck with me. It was very interesting the way that the pressure works in that sort of bubble and how policies get developed. So, but looking ahead, next 12 months, okay, let's park the political and speaking truth to power. What are you going to do with the site? Have you got any changes planned? Are you going to throw all the furniture out, buy a new stretch tent, or what's going to happen? Have you got something big coming up, or is it just keeping on with what you got for now?
We've always got stuff coming up. We're always trying to reinvent the wheel and come up with new ideas. Again, going back to our sort of ethos of charity events, we've got a huge charity event coming up in September, with being hosted by a very, very famous ex-Scottish footballer, which will be incredible. Probably one of the best midfielders of the 80s. So that's going to be amazing. We've got the legendary David Gower coming to do an event for us in November.
And just in 2 weeks, we've got the equally legendary Henry Blofeld coming to do a dinner and a talk as well.
Voice of cricket.
Yeah.
So
Blowers,
Blowers on the way.
Well, you're going to be swapping trouser stories, aren't you, Tommy? I think.
I think we were fortunate to have Henry here last year, and we shared a lot of stories over a nice glass of red wine. So
I felt very out of place because I was dressed much more conservatively.
Not loud enough.
Yeah, no, but no, we've got lots of plans for things to keep growing the business, keep diversifying.
Taking a bunch of staff on a trip to Spain late September to visit a few wineries out there and get a bit more knowledge for those guys out there. And we're just going to take every day by day. We're going to keep pushing our business. We're going to push this a lot. We're going to make sure we're heard, and we can't wait for the next 12 months.
Fantastic. Well, listen, gents, it's an open invitation to come back to me and talk to me. If you've got something really exciting you want to bring up, some progress, anything like that, just drop me a line and I'll get you back on a podcast. It doesn't have to be as long as this. We can do shorts. You know, there is such technology.
We're not very good at that.
Yeah, we waffle.
You waffle. Okay, so somewhere between a short and an epic. We'll yeah. Maybe if we do enough of these, there'll be an Odyssey. Who knows?
Yeah, fingers crossed. That's
You can buy the box. You can buy the box set. Exactly. So, have you had lunch yet, or do you skip lunch and have a late one? Is that your plan?
Yeah, that's normally the case. Yeah.
It figures. Well, gents, thank you so much for coming on. Absolutely, congratulations again. Lovely to meet you, and I look forward to meeting you in the flesh and having a beer with you guys. And
yeah, Chris, really appreciate it, mate. Generally, it was nice of you to reach out. Thank you very, very much.
Well, let me know if you got spare time and you're going into London. I can always nip up from Sussex on the train, and we can attempt to meet up and press the flesh and have some fun. So
yeah, that'd be class.
We'd love that.
Until then, enjoy your success. Look forward to hearing more about what you're going to do this year. And everybody listening, hope you enjoy the podcast and stay tuned for our next episode. Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. It's Chris again. Tom and Mike have now left, and it's just me, and I'm sitting with my thoughts, having listened to these two gentlemen about what's motivating them for the next 12 months ahead and the difference they want to make, not only to their own pub, but to actually the whole industry. I think it sets a really important marker for everybody else that's also running a venue. And whether you can spend a little bit of time or a lot of time, I think now is the time really to put yourself forward and make sure that the powers that be, Westminster, your local MP, local councillors, and even try and get some of your regulars to write and explain what's hurting, how your business is suffering, and what you need the government to do to make things better. I think they're sending out a really strong message, and they would like to obviously be the figureheads and use their clout and their platform to do that, and that's fantastic. But everybody else has got their own little bit of clout and their own bit of platform as well. And what I'm going to do is put together a little package of contact emails and details about how you can also do what they are going to do, which is put forward the problems that your business is suffering from and make sure that it lands on the right desk and makes a change, and how perhaps you can engage with existing forms of campaigning that were already up and running. As I mentioned during the show, the campaign for pubs is headed up by a couple of operators, Paul Crossman and also Dawn Hopkins. They're both pub operators and know exactly what they're doing and also speak from that position. So maybe if you don't actually want to work on your own on campaigning or do your own little thing, then fine. Just join the campaign for pubs. You'll find them online, and I'll put a link up after this podcast so everybody can also get in touch with them. And not forgetting also, you can reach out to other people in the industry. And as I had said in the podcast, a great long-standing friend of mine, former publican Mark Dodds, is currently a director of CAMRA. And CAMRA naturally have had a voice in Parliament for a long time. And maybe that voice hasn't always been loud enough, but Mark is now in a position where he can also help take and shape some of what's going wrong with pubs. And he knows the pub perspective better than just about anyone, having been there himself. So I just want to use this few minutes for me to take away what I heard in this, is that these guys have been in the industry a short amount of time, and they can see that there's a real need for some further reform and support from government. It wasn't just enough to do the pandemic and leave it as it was. They actually do need more help, and so you can help yourselves. So I'm going to give you some tools, give you some information, and that's going to help you drive your business forward and also make sure that you can support not only your own business but others around you, and we can have a really vibrant pub sector, one that we're all proud of and we love visiting. Thanks for listening.